My name is Rosemary, and I am a survivor of abandonment.
Hi all, it's Zoe here. Thanks for hanging out with me again today and joining the Surviving with Zoe podcast, a conversation where amazing inspirational survivors from all walks of life share their personal stories and expert advocates educate you, our audience, in order to break stigmas and taboos regarding mental health and trauma, kind of like free therapy and permission to always give yourself grace and compassion as we are ultimately all just surviving every day. Before we dive in, we would like to add a trigger warning for anyone that is vulnerable to particular issues. Please pause if needed and skip ahead to our timestamps if you need. Lastly, if you could please hit the subscribe button and follow us on Spotify, Apple, Instagram, and TikTok. We would really appreciate it since we are a new pod. We need all the love we can get, and of course, we want to amplify our guests' voices. Rosemary, our guest today, is a salon owner and speaker who is deeply committed to helping women feel confident and seen. Rose was adopted at birth due to her biological parents' struggles with addiction and later experienced a heartbreaking loss when her adopted mother passed away from cancer when she was just 9 years old. Growing up, she faced grief, abandonment, and not feeling like she fully belonged, but she still pushed forward. What started as beauty school became something much deeper. Behind the chair, she discovered her gift for helping women rebuild confidence to see themselves differently, which led her to a salon rooted in community and support. Now stepping into a role as a panelist at Fashion Week, she's expanding her impact in advocating for foster youth, which is one of her greatest passions, giving back. Welcome to Surviving with Zoe, Rose.
Thank you.
So thanks for coming on again today, Rose. I haven't seen you since you did a little bit of my hair in your amazing salon. Why don't you take us back to the beginning and tell us your story?
So, it all started before I was born, actually. My birth parents, they were addicts. Back in the day, my father was this huge drug dealer. He met my mother, and that's when everything kind of started to go a little bit downhill. My mother, she was using while she was pregnant with not only myself, but a few of my other siblings as well. Specifically for me, when she was pregnant with me, she was addicted to heroin. So she was using while she was pregnant with me. That caused me to kind of come out a little bit premature. And when I was born, they had to put me into a detox, because once they kind of cut that umbilical cord, things kind of declined with my health. So I was in the hospital for about 2 months, just kind of detoxing from all of the drugs that she was using. During that process, when I was in the hospital, and these are just things that I've been told from my family, obviously I was going to get taken away. There was no going back to my mother. I was going to get taken away. So luckily for me in my situation, I never had to go into foster care. I did have to kind of follow the same procedures to get adopted, but I've never had to go into the system and into a foster home. Yeah, so two of my aunts, so these were my birth mother's sisters. Two of my aunts were trying to decide who should adopt me. One lived in Canada at the time, and one lived in New York at the time. So I was about 2-3 months old once I got out of the hospital and I was ready to get adopted. My sister also got taken away from my mother. She was about 9 years old. So I guess the struggle for my family was if I was going to be adopted from my aunt that lived in Canada, me and my sister would be split up because she couldn't take both of us. She only could take one of us. And they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to split my sister and I up. So my sister and I ended up getting adopted by my birth mom's sister, the one that lives in New York. Yeah, so she basically raised me. My sister was 9, but she raised me. She taught me how to walk, she taught me how to talk, she changed my first diaper, like she did all of that. She was my mother, like in my eyes. And I had a really amazing childhood with her. And I really commend the way that she kind of went about everything. So from the start, there was never a point where I didn't know my birth parents. I've always known my birth parents. And I really commend my mom for the way that she did it. So she sat me down when I was very young. This was like one of the first memories that I've had with her. She sat me down and she was like, listen, she's like, I'm your mother and I love you so much, but you have a mother and a father, right? So I never called her mom. She never wanted me to call her mom, just out of respect for my birth mom. So I would call her Tia, which means aunt in Italian. So that's what she said. She was like, I'm your mom. I'm always going to be your mom. I love you like you're my own, but you have a birth mother, and out of respect for her, this is how we're going to do things. And she never kept me away from my birth parents ever, which I really respect. She obviously created boundaries for my safety and like my just well-being as a whole. But I remember a few times, and these are like core memories just in my head, that, like I said, she never restricted my parents from being in my life, but my parents weren't in my life, my birth parents. I remember as a kid, like calling my parents up and just asking them like, hey, like, am I gonna see you today? Like, are you, like, it would be like a birthday or like a graduation of mine or something like that. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna be there. And I would call them constantly, like throughout the day, like, hey, like, when are you gonna show up, you know? And they wouldn't show up. They would just kind of, you know, abandon me, you know? So those are like really core memories that I have of my birth parents. I think they came like to maybe one birthday, which was like my sweet 16, and I think like one other special day in my life. But when I would see them, it would be very brief. It would be for like 5 to 10 minutes, maybe like half an hour tops. And that was really it. So that was the extent of having my birth parents in my life as a child. Then when I was 9 years old, my mother that adopted me, she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And we actually found out that she had cancer. She was diagnosed 12 hours before she passed away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I remember she was sick for months. And I remember like just in and out of the hospital, we would take her and all these tests and everything. And I think we took her to like Sloan Kettering, and that's when they diagnosed her. And I think it was like 6 p.m. in the afternoon. And by the next morning, she had passed away. And I remember, it's so not funny, but she was like in I don't want to say a coma, but she was in just like her body was deteriorating, you know, like she was kind of in consciousness, and she had her eyes closed. So the doctor, they were like, once they diagnosed her and once they let us know, they were like, you know, just let her feel as comfortable as possible. So like soft Italian music in the back, like I would draw her pictures, and she would always call me sangue mio, which means my love, well, my blood in Italian. And she was out of it, and I was sitting by her bedside. I was talking to her, and she opened her eyes. She looked at me, and that's what she said. She said sangue mio, and then she closed her eyes, and that was the last thing she said to me.
I'm so sorry, Rose. That's like so much to go through as a 9-year-old, and I can just and I can just hear the emotion in your voice talking about her, because she was your mom. Like, you know, all of the first things was, you know, with her. And it sounds like she took a lot of pride in raising you, and it
Good.
was probably a surprise to her to be sick. And so, why didn't they find her cancer? Like,
I don't
that's the most
know.
bizarre thing.
I remember like this also was almost 20 years ago, so I don't
Yeah,
know like the
all the
technology.
details.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I don't really know. But they were like, oh, it's like an ulcer, just anything with the stomach. They were like, it could be this
yeah,
and
yeah,
it could be that, and then she was deteriorating like at home, and we're like, this just doesn't, something's not right, you
yeah,
know. But it makes me grateful in a way though, because she didn't have to, like, yes, she suffered, but she didn't
hmm,
have to go through chemo. Like, I know she wouldn't have wanted to go through any of that, and like
yeah,
for most of that suffering, it was at home with her daughters. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like in her bed, just it was a very brief time where she was in the hospital. I think it was like a
yeah,
few days before she had passed away.
yeah.
So that does make me grateful in
Yes,
that sense, because I see what chemo and all of these things do to a person, and yes, it gives you a shot to kind of maybe heal and fight it.
yeah,
That's not what she would have wanted.
right.
Um, and everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen. So I'm grateful
Yeah.
that she was at home with us for most of that time period, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so this is the second form of abandonment that you had experienced in your early life. And, abandonment is a confusing word because obviously your Tia didn't like set out to abandon you. It was life circumstances, but I can't imagine the pain that you would have felt like kind of losing your whole world at 9 years old.
That's
Um,
exactly what it felt like. Yeah.
yeah, and are you able to kind of like take us through what that grief journey looked like at 9 years old now that you're an adult and that you can understand it?
So after my mom had passed, my this is where it gets a little complicated. So her daughter is my cousin, like
Hmm.
biologically. So she had adopted me. So once our mother passed away, she kind of took control and she adopted me. I think she was honestly in her late 20s. So she was very young herself. So she took me in, she adopted me, and I remember this is kind of where like I wasn't in, I mean, I guess I was in the system, not fully, but so, and this had happened when I was a child, like when I was a baby that my mother had to go through. Obviously, I don't recall these things, but being 9 years old and going through these things at that time, I remember. So I would have social workers come unexpectedly to the house, check everything, check the fridge, check the house, make sure it was clean, make sure I was living in a good environment. I would be like
Hmm.
followed school a lot by social workers. Like they were just
Hmm.
kind of buying everything that I was doing, that my sister was doing, that my family was doing, for a good amount of time. I think this process took about a year, for my sister to fully adopt me. Um, and that experience, again, like, yes, I've been through so many things, so many hard things, but so many kids have it so much worse than I do. So many kids are in foster cares and they jump
Hmm.
around to foster home to foster. Like, I've never
Right.
had to do that. You know what I mean? I've been
Yeah.
so blessed and so lucky to just stay with my family. Um, like, yes, I've experienced a little bit of that world, but nowhere near as far as other kids have, you know?
Right. And you're talking about foster youth like being in
Yes.
group homes and moving
Yeah.
like 30 times before they're 18.
And
Like,
also having
yeah.
bad experiences in foster homes, you
Yeah.
know? Like, a lot of people do this not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know, you
Absolutely.
benefit being a foster parent. There are some benefits,
Mm.
and people do that for the wrong reasons, and
Yes.
it affects children. And again, I'm so lucky and I'm so blessed to have everything have gone the way that it did for me in
Yeah.
that sense.
And
So yeah,
also, Rose, it doesn't diminish what you've been through either, because pain is pain. Like, everyone feels pain on different levels. And even just moving around, like from when you were a baby to with your Tia, and then is it with your sister that it was
yeah,
next? So
yeah,
that's still like limbo and
yeah,
instability, you know?
yes.
So I just wanted to give you credit for that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, I got adopted. I think I was around like 10 years old when the adoption was final. She then raised me. She got me through school, everything like that. And I do want to point out, like, I think because, and this is something that I've only recently now kind of realized and discovered, I didn't grieve my mother's loss back then because
Yeah.
I didn't know how. Like, I was a child, and also
Yeah.
like my mother's loss was such a huge loss in our
Yeah.
entire family. My sisters and the people older in my family, they didn't know how to be there for me and teach me how to grieve when they were also grieving. You know, we kind of
Yeah.
just went through all of this together. And again, I didn't realize it at the time, but now being an adult looking back, I didn't grieve her loss properly. I think that I kind of just blocked everything out from probably the time that she passed away. Honestly, to a few years ago, I just blocked everything out. Elementary school, middle school, high school, like I truly have very little recollection of any of that. And it's also like, it kind of feels like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I almost in a way never had her in my life because I only had like a short amount of time where I remember her.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's just like sometimes I feel like I never had her.
Yeah.
So for all of these years, I never went to go visit her grave in the cemetery. I never went to church. I never did any of the things that would remind me of her. Never.
Yeah.
Until recently. I would say like this past year, I really started to take the time and kind of start to heal in my own way. So now, pretty often, not as often as I would like, but I go to her grave, I go to the cemetery, and I
Wow.
sit down, and that was so uncomfortable for me the first few times. So now I go and I sit there and I talk to her. And sometimes I don't talk. Sometimes I just want to sit there and be in her presence. But unfortunately, that's the only way I can be in her presence, you know? So I would just sit there. Birthdays, her anniversary, my birthday, like anything like that. Like I go there now. I go to church a lot because that's what she instilled in me, you know?
Yeah.
Just, everything that she's instilled in me as a child, I see myself kind of tapping back into. And kind of like getting back into all of that and just being more religious, being more family oriented. Like I was always family oriented, but not to the extent that she would have liked. So I see myself kind of healing a little bit in my own way and just doing things that kind of make me uncomfortable, like this podcast and talking about my trauma. Like for so many years, like I'm very open with my trauma. I'm very open about my story because it happened. It's not my fault. I'm not like a victim. I'm not, you know, like it happened. But I'm trying to kind of just, I don't know, find like a deeper meaning and like, no, Rose, you did go through all these things and it's really heavy and it is really traumatic and like, you don't always have to just brush it off and be like, no, I'm fine. Because that was me for so many years. No, I'm fine. No, you're not fine, you know, and you have work to do and you have healing to do. So I feel like now as an adult, I'm in that headspace and I'm mentally and emotionally prepared to kind of start that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it sounds like you're in a good spot in your life because you're still processing everything, but you have an amazing business, you know, you're in a place to give back to others, and I think that's very healing and kind of like your purpose in life that you'll continue to find. And I think like going to your Tia's grave, your mum's grave, is just, it's such a big step. And I haven't lost anyone on that level with grief before, but the fact that you're not just like putting it away in a box, like you are really like taking it out and confronting it and going to her grave, like, I mean, that even if you sit in silence, like that sounds like you are connecting with her and with yourself. And as you do that, I'm sure more memories of your childhood would come up. Because I think when we go through grief as a child, and lots of people can go through it in different ways, I think that we suppress our feelings so that, because it's too painful to endure at that age. And the more that, you know, you go back to like your roots with your Tia, you'll probably find that memories will come up and you haven't really lost her, because that's, you know, directly linked to abandonment, is feeling like an experience or a person never belonged. But this is how you keep them alive, is by speaking about them and doing those traditions. So you should be really proud of yourself for tackling that alone as an adult. And I do want to just kind of take a detour and go backwards a little bit, because abandonment for you did not just start with your mum, Tia. It started with your biological mum and dad. And I remember you telling me that your mum is from Italy. She immigrated in the 60s to America, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So was your dad also Italian, or was he American?
So I don't really know much about my father's side, because my father's side, they do come from more of like that addiction side.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know much, but he was American, so he lived here. Yes, my mom and my aunts and my uncles and my grandmother, they migrated here from Italy. And my mother was never, from what I was told, she was never into drugs. She never had an addiction until certain things in her life happened. So she, and again, the older I've gotten, the more that I've learned and the more that I've kind of understood, and that resentment that I've had towards them kind of subsided a little bit. So with my birth mother, she went through a lot in her life. Her sister, my other aunt, was murdered very, very young. Yeah, my aunt was murdered.
Are you able to share a little bit about that?
I can. So I don't know the details, but she essentially was stabbed to death by a man. And it was her and my Tia, actually. So they both got injured in this altercation. My aunt, my Tia survived, and my other aunt didn't. So she passed away, and that was really hard on, obviously, the family. I think my aunt at the time was like in her 20s, in her late 20s. And this was a very tragic death, and my birth mother didn't take it well at all. So she dealt with that. She dealt with just her own demons and her own struggles and her own trauma that led her to her addiction. And obviously I didn't know that as a kid. And the older I've gotten, the more that my family wants to share, which I'm very grateful for. So that had happened. And like I said, she was never, so she has 4 kids, myself included. I'm the baby. And yeah, once she met my father, like I mentioned, he was like this huge time drug dealer back in the day. And they met at a bar, and that was kind of it. So interesting enough, my father was married to my other, so I have 6 sisters and a brother. And I'm the baby.
Okay.
So I have some with different fathers, different mothers, some from like the adoption. Like it's a very
Mm-hmm.
blended family.
Yeah.
And at the time that my parents met, my father was married to my other sister's mother. So he
Okay.
was,
So, yeah, one of your aunts.
no, he was married to this lady. They had children, and these are my sisters. So my dad was
Right.
in a marriage.
Yeah.
And essentially, my birth mother was the mistress, if you will.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not your aunt by like, blood relation, but it's one of your sister's
Mother.
mothers. Got it. Got it. Okay. And so your mother experienced a tragic death of her sister,
Yeah.
and then she met your father, who is like a big time, like drug addict, and obviously came from a family of addicts. So they both have their own kind of trauma going on. And also, I feel like your mother, like coming from Italy in the 60s, like people don't really understand how immigrating is a trauma.
It
Like,
is.
like I'm sure, English isn't the first language. You have to learn. My mom's an immigrant, so it was the same thing. And then, you're going through a new environment. Like it's like you're just mourning like your previous life in the other country. It's like
Yeah.
grief as well. So she's got her own set of trauma. She meets him. And how much do you know about this period?
So they met, and at the time, my father was not doing drugs when he met her. He was just selling them. Um, and from my knowledge and what I was told, once my parents met, that was so my mother had kind of dabbled into drugs beforehand. Again, after that trauma with her sister passing the way that she did, so she was into drugs a little before she met my father. Once she met my father, everything, it was just like a huge bomb that exploded, and you meet a man and he has all the supply you can possibly ask for, and that's when things started to kind of deteriorate and go downwards. Soon after they met, they got pregnant with my sister. So it's my sister and I that are like full blood related. This is the same sister that was adopted with me.
Yes. And can I just yeah, can I just ask, Rose, so was your sister also born prematurely and affected by
Yeah.
addiction? Okay.
Yeah, she was. So my mother was addicted to, I believe it was crack cocaine with my sister. I don't know much about that. I don't know if she had to stay in the hospital much, but I know that same thing she did use while she was pregnant with my sister. So that was that whole thing. And we've all got taken away. So all of my siblings, we've all got taken away from our parents. My
Yeah.
brother with my grandma, like we've all got split up as a family, and just someone raised each and every one of us, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, once my parents met, it kind of just went completely downhill, and that's when like the addiction really kicked in for both of my parents.
Yeah.
They had my sister. My sister got taken away. My parents went to jail at separate times. My dad did a few years. My mom did a few years in jail. My sister was raised by her godmother, and once my parents got out of jail, they kind of wanted to look for their children again in a way, very selfishly. You would think, okay, like you had the time, you're clean now, and
Right.
everything. Once they got out of jail, they kind of went right back into their addiction. And again, like my sister had to experience a lot more than I did because I was adopted as a baby. I didn't have to see anything. You know what I mean? That wasn't
Right.
the case for my other siblings. All of my other siblings witnessed things that I had no idea about until I got older. Like there would be strangers and crackheads like in the house,
Yeah.
and like my siblings would wake up in the middle of the night, and like My brother was sitting on the floor on a mattress holding my sister as a baby while my mom was like sprung out in the other room.
Yeah, yeah.
They had to witness this. I never had to
Yes.
witness this, you
Yeah.
know? So they have their own trauma that they've dealt with, and it honestly, it's affected us in a very unique way.
Yeah.
More so than others. I mean, we can talk about this a little bit later, but it has affected all of us. So they had my sister. That was like a whole thing. Then they had me. That was that whole thing. And then when I was 17, 16 or 17, my father, he had passed away. So he had overdosed. It was a mixture of an overdose and his diabetes that he passed away, but he had passed away when I was about, I think, 17 years old. And my parents were still together at the time. So obviously my mother, her whole world came crashing down.
Right.
And that's when my sister and I had to take her in and kind of support her and be there for her. My sister supported them for years and years and years. My sister was 18 years, a new child, having to support her parents. And then once my father passed away, my birth mom came to live with us. And we had to support her, and we had to just make sure she was okay and she was surviving. And, you know, that was such a huge loss for her. That's all that she knew was my father. So that was a little bit triggering. And I will say, the way that she handled his loss, I mean, there's no right or wrong way, right? Like, your significant other passes away. There's no right way to grieve that loss. But one thing that really stuck out to me was when he did pass away. Like, the early few days right after, she had made a comment, and she was like that. She's like, my life's over. You know, like, I don't have a will to live anymore. And I had so much anger and so much resentment because I'm like, what about us? Like,
Right.
you have your kids,
Because
you have so many grandchildren.
yeah.
And I remember like, looking at her, like, I got so angry, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you have your children, you know?
Yeah.
And to this day, I will never really understand that because I'm not a mother. One day I will be, but as of I'm not a mother. But yes, addiction is a sickness, it's an illness, but at some point, wouldn't you want to like wake up and be like, you know, I have 4 beautiful children, I have 6, 7, 8 beautiful grandchildren, like, okay, my husband passed, but let me pour this energy and let me kind of make up for all this lost time and kind of pour that into them now, you know? And
Absolutely. And I feel like sadness for you because it's like, you know, yes, you're not a mother, but you had a great example of a mother with your Tia. And so you know what it's like for someone to be selfless and put you first. And, you know, there's probably subconsciously, even though you don't, you know, you didn't experience anything as a baby, like living in the house with your mum and your dad, subconsciously, like, your trauma's passed down from generations. Like, you probably have a lot of trauma and you're dealing with, you know, this resentment towards your birth parents, which is natural because that's anger protecting you. That's why, like, we get angry is because we want to protect ourselves. So, and then, you know, you can see so clearly how you would live your life as your mom, but it sounds like she was very dependent on your birth father, and that it was like almost like putting him on a pedestal when he brought a lot of horrible things. Yes, she was, you know, addicted to things before meeting him, but that to me sounded like a very toxic relationship with, you know, I don't know your birth parents, but I'm just a third party perspective of like that, bringing those two worlds together, it would have been very codependent and toxic. So, and so you're 16, 17 when your father passed away, which is triggering in itself. So let's backtrack to that. Okay. Your parents have been in jail in your life. You know, essentially they chose drugs over you. So that's a huge loss as a child, teenager. And now your mum comes to live with you and is like, can't take care of herself. How did you feel when she was living with you? How did you deal with those emotions?
So she lived with us for about a year, and that truly was one of the best times, honestly, with my mother. She wasn't using at the time just because it was my sister and I, and my sister had children. So she wasn't using for that year. She was clean. And it was great. She would help with the kids, and she would pick them up from school and take care of them. And we would come home, and like we spent Christmas together. That's her birthday. And that year was just so nice because she was clean. And that was the first time in my life where I could see myself having a relationship with her, like a healthy one. And I'm like, okay, like she's being a mom. She's not fully, because I truly feel like she doesn't know how to be a mother and have those like, maternal instincts, just because she hasn't done that, you know. But just, it was nice having her there. It was nice having her around. But eventually, like, I was getting older, my sister was getting older. She had to kind of go back and live on her own again, and I was in a relationship at the time. My sister was getting in a relationship at the time, and a year had passed, and she went back to living on her own, and that was when things went back downhill. And I don't necessarily blame my sister and I for that happening. If you ask my other family, so a huge thing, and still to this day is what I struggle with, is my family feels like because that is my mother, they're obligated to be there for her and support her. And and I'm not just like, I've supported her financially. My sister supported her financially up until I opened my business. I was supporting her financially. You know, I was getting her groceries and paying her phone bill and just making sure she was okay, you know. And my sister, like I said, she was 18. My sister was 18 supporting them, you know. And then once my sister started to have more kids and started to create a family of her own, that responsibility fell on me. And it was never a thank you. I never got a thank you. I never got anything. It was just, it was like it was expected of my sister and I because that's our mother and we need to do that. But it's like, no, we don't need to do that, you know, because we've never done anything for us. We don't need to. We're doing it because that's the right thing to do. And if we don't do it, then she's going to end up in a really, really bad situation, and God knows, you know, where she would be. So
and that's such an old school mentality that I feel like older generations have. It's like, oh, you only have one mother, you only have one father. Like, no, like, you know, you've got to take care of yourself first in life.
And they don't understand that. And I had to tell my family, and they are very old school, you know, and I had to tell them, you guys need to understand that I had a mother. She was the best mother, but I lost that, and nothing is going to replace that, you know. So that's what they would say, well, that's your mom and you need to do. No, I don't need to do anything. We don't need to do anything. We're doing it because that's just the right thing to do. And it's also, that's where the resentment kind of kicked in again, and it was like, but why do I have to? Like, she abandoned me when I was a baby. She abandoned all of her children. So it's like, why do I have to be the bigger person now and care for her and make sure she's okay when she didn't make sure that her children were okay, you know? Like, she literally had a bunch of kids and was like, okay, like, there you go. I don't care. I don't know. And she was struggling with addiction and she was struggling with her sickness. Totally understandable, but at the same time, stop having children if you're gonna, because
Yeah.
at this point, we're all trying to fend for ourselves, like all of us had very little guidance. Like even I had the best mom and my sister and everything, but like we all had very little guidance, and now we're all trying to just make a life for ourselves that honestly we didn't ask to be here. We did not ask for all of these things. Like we're literally all had to start from the ground up because we were left with nothing. So it's just that resentment, it kind of like, it's like I feel it and then I don't, and then I feel it and then I don't, it's just it's
it's like a battle with your inner child versus an adult of who you are now, because your inner child is still angry and protective, and then as an adult you probably have, and a woman, you probably have empathy and understanding for her as you get older. And people think that like, forgiveness is like just black and white, but like, you don't have to forgive, but you can understand, you know what I mean? Because the more that you understand your parents or people who have hurt you in your life, it kind of depletes the anger a little bit, because you're like, you have compassion for them, but that doesn't take away like everything that you've been through, and it doesn't justify their behavior either. And Rose, I just want to clarify, so is your mum still in your life today, and is she still battling addiction?
So when she's not, long story short, she's not in my life today. When my father passed away, I want to say maybe like 2 years after, she got into another relationship. And again, I think it was just a codependency thing, And this relationship is what brought her to start using again, but in the most like horrific way possible. And I was still supporting her at that time. Financially, I was making sure she was okay. And I got really angry with her because at that point I was, I think I was like 21, 22, 23, around there. I'll be 28 now, but I was in my younger 20s. And now I was supporting not only her, but her partner.
Wow,
so now
really? Okay.
2 people, and I'm buying groceries for 2 people, and so that was the worst that I've ever seen my mom, was through that time. Unfortunately, that person passed away as well. He had overdosed.
Your mum's that partner overdosed. Okay, that is so triggering for you as well.
It was beyond triggering, like that. So the way that he passed away, like both my father and this man had passed away in the same home, because it was my mom's home. So they both passed away in that same spot where they were all the time. They were just in the house.
Yeah.
So not only was it triggering for her, but it was like a replay. Like, she called me, same thing with my dad. She called me on the phone screaming like bloody murder, screaming his name. And that's what happened when my father passed away.
Right.
She called screaming his name at 2 a.m. And I think I got in like a state of shock, to be completely honest. Because I'm like, oh my God, like this is exactly the same thing, the same cause of death, the same environment, the same everything. And that was very, very, very traumatic. That was a very, very hard time, because you lose your significant other the first time, and then you find companionship, and then that's taken away from you.
And then it's like, you shouldn't have to worry about your mum's happiness at a young age. And I can relate to this. Like, I had a similar relationship with my mom, and it's like, it's devastating as a child, because like you have all these feelings and you're processing, but you're like, when your mum loses their partner or they break up or whatever, you're like, oh, like, I feel sorry for them. I'm worried, how are they going to survive? But it's like, what about you?
That's
Like,
what I was thinking. I'm like, what's gonna happen now? And then I'm trying to
yeah.
figure out my life, and I'm
Hmm.
trying to make sure that like I'm
Yeah.
doing something in my life. So it was a really, really, really hard time in my
Yeah.
life. Um, and
And
after
also,
that,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to bring this up too. When your father passed away, you probably couldn't process that being young again. Um, and then now this second man is passing away. Do you think that you processed it more when the second partner passed away than you did at 16, 17?
I don't think so. I think because at that point I was just completely numb. But I will say that when my father passed away, so the difference between my father passing away and my mother passing away were very different because when my father passed away, because I was older, it affected me more at that time.
Yeah.
Like when he physically passed away, it was very dramatic. It was very,
Yeah.
very dark, and my life kind of started to decline very fast when my
Hmm.
father passed away. But because he was never in my life, it didn't affect me long term because I was so
Okay.
used to not having him around. As opposed to when my
Right.
mother had passed away when I was a child, I
Yeah.
didn't process it because I was a
Yeah.
child.
Right.
You
And
know, it was so
it
hard.
sounds like because he wasn't a super close person in your life, you were able to process it and grieve it and feel it. But with
And then
your
move on.
mother, your tia who raised you, you couldn't. Okay, so now I understand. So sorry to interrupt you. You were
No.
talking about your biological mum.
Um, what was I saying? I don't even. Oh, so yeah, so when her partner had passed away, everything kind of just. It was like the worst I've ever seen her.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of stuck around for a little bit longer because I didn't want to leave her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of all she had. And she was very, very good at manipulation. And she
Hmm.
was like, please don't give up on me and don't leave me. And as a young 20-year-old, as a young adult,
Hmm.
she put me in such a very, very hard position because again, not only am I trying to fend for myself, but now I'm having to support my mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't up until recently when I opened my business. I opened my business 2, 3 years ago. Is when I had to cut her completely out of my life because once she was aware that I had opened a business, I didn't tell her. My family had told her. She kind of saw dollar signs everywhere,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, not only I need to focus, I need to be clear. I'm taking such a big risk. I had quit my corporate job and
Wow.
poured all of my savings into building this. You know, I did this completely on my own. I didn't have not one nothing. I had no type of help financially and with knowledge. Like everything that I built, I did it on my own. Um, and I was like, I can't have you in my life. You know, like you think of me
Yeah.
again as a dollar sign, and I'm opening a business. You know, I don't have the luxury of kind of dishing everything out. You know, I just, like I said, I spent my whole savings on building a business. And
Yeah.
I had to cut her out completely. It's been a few years since I really had any contact with her. I did see her though for the first time in a few years on Thanksgiving. Um, I don't know. I had the urge to see her, so I went to go see her, and I regretted it. Just of like what I walked into and the circumstances that I saw, that was very triggering for me as well. Seeing her like that because for majority of my life, yeah, she had her addiction, but she didn't look like she had an addiction. Now she looks like she has an addiction, and seeing my mother like that and in that state, and you also, like, I've come to the realization where you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. She didn't want to be
Absolutely.
helped. You know, there were so many times where I was like, all right, like when my father passed away, when that man passed away, I'm like, all right, let's get you to rehab, you know, like she wanted to go.
Right.
Okay, like let's go. I bought her an immense amount of clothing and everything just to make sure she was comfortable. I bought her everything that she needed. For a few weeks, I did the research, and that was when I was opening my business. I took a lot of time away from my focus to try and get her to rehab, and then the night before rehab, she went completely missing and MIA. And apparently this is what she's done in the past, because my family has tried to do that in the past.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like, no one told me. You know what I mean? That this is kind of what I had no idea. So I'm like, well, it was kind of like, well, Rose, you're so stupid. Like, and I'm like,
yeah.
If you knew that, you should have told me. Because again, I'm doing this. I didn't have the time or the money at that time to do what I did. And again, that was like a face. So she doesn't want to talk, and that's it.
Yeah. And for our like listeners, like I've met you while you were doing my hair, and I could tell that your business, it means so much more to you than just a career, because for someone that has lost a lot and has dealt with abandonment and trauma, like you've built this from nothing, and that's also like being independent, that's a trauma response. And obviously you're very successful now, but let's talk about what it took to get there, because a lot of people get loans from their parents, they get a career advice from their parents, you know, co-signed by their parents, you know. Tell me about what young Rose like had to do. Like, what corporate job were you working that you bravely quit to fund this career? And how did you find that strength to be independent? Because when you don't have that guidance at a young age, your life can go downhill pretty quick, but you chose to go upwards.
So I had worked for Bellamy. It's a huge company, a huge hair extension company. So I had worked for them for about 4 years, and at the time I was just working like crazy. I ended up being their #1 like leading stylist throughout like nationwide. So they have a bunch of locations: LA, Texas, Vancouver. So towards the end of my time there, they awarded me with, I guess, just being like the top earning stylist for the company. And I was in a very toxic work environment at that time. And it was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because that's where I really fell in love with my career. Because I've said it from the start, like my passion, it's not doing hair. I want to help people. You know, that's always been my passion since I was a little girl. Anytime that I can do anything for someone else, I've always done that. That's what my passion is. Working at Bellamy and gaining the skill of hair extensions and then seeing what that does to people is really what kind of changed my career for me and kind of changed my outlook on what I'm doing. So once I kind of felt comfortable and I was like, you know, like, I know what I'm doing. I dedicated a few years to this. Before I fully left that corporate job, I started to educate myself on how to open a business, the paperwork, all the legalities, like everything that I needed to know. Because again, I come from a family of immigrants. You know, no one in my family has done this. I'm the first one in my family to open a business. So I didn't have them to confide in. I didn't have them to ask for help. I had very few friends in the industry that have done this. So I asked the little amount of people that I could. And then it was literally me staying up till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, just reading and learning on what a DBA was and all these terms and permits and all of these things. And I learned. I'm still learning as I'm going. It took me a really long time. It was a really, really, I wouldn't say dark place, it was a really stressful time in my life. That first year where I opened my business, and then we were building this physical salon out. I cried like every day, every single day. I cried out of frustration, and like I wanted to give up, but there was nothing. There was no other option for me, you know. So I stood with a corporate job until one, I felt financially ready to do it. I saved up a few tens of thousands of dollars and to this. This took about, I want to say like $20,000 to $25,000. This was a huge investment, because a lot goes
That's
into it.
like a lot of willpower. Sorry to interrupt you again.
Yeah.
That's a lot of willpower for someone in their early 20s to accomplish.
I think I was 25
Yeah.
when I quit my job and opened this business.
Yeah.
I was 25 years old.
That's
Yeah, so
incredible.
super young. I definitely missed out on a few years of kind of living my life, but I did have to grow up at such an early age.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like you mentioned, I don't have my parents to kind of fall back on. I didn't have the time to kind of be a kid. Not a kid,
Yes.
because I was a kid, but a young adult. I didn't have the time. I didn't have the luxury of being that and experiencing that. And that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
it could have been worse, but I just kind of went all in, and now I'm here. I'm 2 years in business, and we're just going with it. I'm gonna be learning as I go, like for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm setting things up for my children and like my sister's children and like all the children of the family. Like I'm truly trying to just create generational wealth and kind of break this stigma and like all this trauma.
Yeah.
And just, when I leave this earth, I want them to have something.
Yeah.
They're gonna know how to work hard. They're gonna know all of that, but I don't want them to feel the immense amount of like stress on their shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
To this day, I feel such an immense amount of like weight on my shoulders because
Yes.
I'm all I have. So if I don't make it, I don't make it. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah.
And that's just, it is what it is.
And I know we talked about, you like looking out for your cousins and younger people in your life, and also just being passionate about foster youth, because a lot of people don't know much about people who didn't grow up with a support system and parents. And I think I shared with you, because I work in the nonprofit industry, that 40% of the population are foster youth, because when they turn 18 and they age out, they can fall into devastating statistics, obviously homelessness, drugs, prostitution. So you are definitely breaking cycles, giving back and looking out for younger people in your family. You were born prematurely, and so was your sister. Your mum was doing crack cocaine with your sister's pregnancy, and then with yours, unfortunately, heroin. Both just devastating drugs to be addicted to. Do you know how early you were born prematurely?
I believe, I want to say like maybe 2 or 3 months prematurely.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you say that again one more time?
About like 3 months prematurely.
Okay, wow. And have you had any, or did you have any medical issues that you know of as a child, like withdrawing from heroin?
So when I was born, I suffered from neonatal abstinence syndrome. So basically what had happened was, once they had cut the umbilical cord, I started to seize, and I went to like immediate withdrawals, and I started to shake very intensely. So I did struggle with that, and yeah, I had to stay in the hospital for a few months, kind of just detoxing everything out of my body. But luckily, by the grace of the man above, I didn't suffer from anything. Like, I am healthy today. My sister's healthy. I'm healthy. There were no lingering effects to what had happened. It was just a really intense situation at the time. But I'm good. No, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel like growing up that there was like a stigma with that? Like it's not really something that I'm sure like when you finally understood it, like you felt super comfortable sharing with everyone, especially as a kid, you kind of would just want to fit in and be the same as everyone. So did you ever feel like withdrawn, like I don't really want to share that with kids my age, or did you get to a point where you were like, I'm just gonna share it?
Um, I've never felt ashamed or anything to share. I remember being a child after my mom had passed away and
Yeah.
always being pretty open, not necessarily about like the addiction side of my story, but for the most part I've always felt very open. I think that's a part of just me being like desensitized. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But I the only thing that I felt like I didn't fit in or that I kind of like earned for was just like when other kids would talk about like their moms, like me and my mom went shopping, or me and my mom did this, and it was Mother's Day and we did this. That I remember, and still to this day it affects me a little bit when people talk about their mothers and even their fathers. Like, I've never had a father figure in my life,
Yeah.
ever. I've
Yeah.
never had that strong role, that male role in my life. Like, I have an older brother, but because we all went through such traumatic lives, he has no problems, like he can't be there. He was never there for me, I never had this like perfect mother father dynamic in my life. So
Yeah.
growing up and as a kid, when I would hear that, I didn't feel like angry or anything, but I did feel like, damn, like I
Yeah.
can't really. There's
Yeah.
yeah, and it was just
Almost like disappointed, and I know like with having trauma in my life as well, I've always felt like I can't really relate to anyone, and that can be lonely. So how do you think your mum and your dad not being present in your life affected you mentally growing up?
I think that even now, like, I'm very desensitized. I'm very just kind of like numb a little bit. Like, what would be so traumatic and all of these things to someone else, I'm like, okay. Like, even when I
Yeah.
talk about the story, like my trauma, I say it with such like lightness in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like because of my upbringing and because of all of that, I struggle with like feeling emotions
Yeah.
and being vulnerable, and I do have a really unhealthy relationship with like being independent. Like, no, I got it, and I'm like, you need to
Yeah.
learn those that like you can be vulnerable and you can feel and you can cry and you can depend on people and you can talk about your feelings. And I was never like that. I was just on
Yeah.
like autopilot and kind of just, but I also think that's why I blacked out so much of my life
Yeah.
as a teenager, because I didn't want to feel anything. It was like I lost my mom,
Yeah.
then I lost my dad. Now I'm dealing with my birth mom. It's just like I'm tired. Like, I'm mentally
Yes.
blacked
Right.
out.
You're
Like,
only 28. Like
exactly. Like, I'm
you're
blacked
still
out.
young. Yeah, and it's like it's survival, and you're taking the right steps now to feel those feelings. So some people aren't even self-aware that they can't feel their feelings. So you're already ahead of the game. And it's very courageous to step out of your comfort zone like you've been doing this year and to do that. Tell me about your support system now, because I know it takes a while to build. Who are the people that you can count on and that have helped you now after you've kind of done everything yourself?
I would say for a long time, my sister and I,
Mm-hmm.
um, we how we've gotten closer as we've gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
So she lived here, and I think 4 years ago, she moved to Florida. And when she moved, that is when we became extra close, and we became, so close.
Yeah.
And again, we don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
As of more recently, I noticed that we are. We're
Yeah.
talking about like, our traumas, and we're talking about our feelings, and we're saying "I love you." We never used to say "I love you" to each other ever. I make it a
Yeah.
point to say it to the kids, but it was never like normal to say it to each other.
Yeah.
Um, I would say more recently, like my sister, she's always been my backbone. She's always been just right behind me, and vice versa. We've always just
Mm.
been each other's like safe place. But
Yeah.
we're showing it a lot more now, so her for sure. And honestly, my friends, I have a really, really great group of friends now. When I opened my business, I had to cut, honestly, like 98% of my friend group off. We didn't align anymore, and I just had to cut them off. And I'm very, very blessed within the
Mhm.
past 2 years. So many amazing, beautiful people have come into my life,
Yeah.
and they support me, and they've also taught me how to love and how
Hmm.
to show love and how to show affection,
Hmm.
because like I said, me and my siblings and my family, we don't really do that. But
Right.
I've always done it to the children in my family, because I see what that did to me, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want that. So every
Yeah.
time I get off the phone with them or anything, "I love you," I make sure to tell them that I love
Yeah.
them. But
Yeah.
these group of friends now, they've showed me how to show affection to like other
Yeah.
adults, and
Yeah,
like
no, I know exactly what you mean, because sometimes when you don't have anyone raising you, or periods of your life without someone raising you, you kind of like take examples from
yeah.
friends' parents or friends or TV shows or famous people or
Mhm.
fictional characters. Like, it's
Yeah,
very like people don't understand the strength that it takes to raise yourself, because you're starting from scratch essentially,
exactly,
and
and
you're
that's what
kind
I
of like,
feel.
and like lots of people who have been through similar like life paths that you have can do the opposite. They feel their feelings and it's too much, and they might turn to addiction like your mother. But you've
Hmm.
chose to better yourself and break cycles and create a path for the future to give back. So I just
Yeah.
think that that's really something that you should be proud of. Again, I know I keep saying that, but
Thank
um,
you.
I just think that you've kind of become who younger Rose needed.
I
In a
say that
way,
all
like,
the
you know,
time.
that saying on social media that pops up everywhere. And in saying that, if you met 9-year-old Rose who had just lost her mum all those years ago,
Hmm.
what type of advice do you think that you would give to her, knowing everything that you've been through now and that you've made it out the other side?
I would tell her that it's going to be okay, and that you will be successful, and you will
Hmm.
be a great person with a great heart, and you're going to go on to do the most amazing things. And the 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 version that you see in yourself, because again, I vividly remember being young and picturing this life for myself,
Yeah.
you know
Almost manifesting it even at a
I
young
say
age.
it all the time, like I truly,
Hmm.
yes, I've been working so incredibly hard,
Hmm.
but I pictured this life for myself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I did it. So I would just tell her, like, just relax, everything's gonna be fine, and
Hmm.
you're doing it. We're gonna do it, and you're gonna achieve
Hmm.
everything that you want to achieve. Just, I got you, like I kind of just want
Hmm.
to hug her and just be like, I got you. Like, you will be
Yeah.
taken care of, and you will be fine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you think your Tia would be the most proud of?
Oh my God. I don't know because she wanted me to go to college. So I'm sure when I was not going to college and I was enrolling in beauty school, I'm sure she was up there and she was like, Rose, what the hell are you doing? You know, because that was what she wanted. She wanted college and a 9 to 5 job because that's, she was an immigrant herself. Now, I think that she would be so proud of me for everything that I've accomplished, for the life that I built for myself. And I'm doing this not only for myself, but for her as well, because she sacrificed so much. When she adopted me, her children were grown. She started with the diapers and the bottles and the feedings. Like she started all over again, so she sacrificed so much. So I think a lot of what I'm doing is just to show her like everything that you sacrificed wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was worth it. So I
Yeah.
hope I know she's proud. I know she's so proud
Yeah.
of me. Um, I know she's proud. She's proud.
And I'm sure you gave her, back so much as well. You know, that yes, it was a sacrifice, but the joy and the accomplishments, even as a young child, I'm sure she was proud of you then and absolutely is proud of you now. Rose, I want to end this podcast with a question that we ask all of our survivors. Take your time with this. You can think. um, why do you think that you're a survivor today?
I think that I've come out on the other end of all this trauma because I saw firsthand the life that I could have easily have had and would have turned into had I let all of my struggles kind of take over me. And seeing that firsthand, I wanted nothing to do with that. So a lot of my family members kind of followed in that, and they kind of take that and they're like, you know what, well, I've been through X, Y, and Z, so it's okay that I do X, Y, and Z. But I've seen what that does and the life that you can kind of accumulate and kind of build with that, and I wanted nothing to do with that. And I just there's no other option for me. There's no other option. This is it. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have a beautiful life with a beautiful family and a life full of happiness and no stress. Like, yeah, we're always going to have stress, but like, I want a light life. I feel like my life, all my life has been so heavy and so brutal and so intense that there's no other option for me. It's only up from here. Like I want nothing but success and abundance and happiness and peace. And that's my life now, and I'm going to continue that. And again, I'm seeing the life that I'm building for myself, and no one can take that away. I built this myself, and I've seen what I'm capable of, and I've seen what I'm strong enough and I have the strength to do. There's no other option. There's no other option.
Yeah. So you've already accomplished so much. How old are you?
I will be 28 in a few months.
I mean, that's just amazing that you've done all of this before 28. I was still a mess at 28. I'm 35 now. I'm still figuring things out. What do you see for Rose in the future?
So I will get, I want a storefront, preferably two. I see two storefronts. I see me owning two salons. One in like New Jersey. My salon here is in Hoboken. I'm actually looking to expand within the next few months, so that's exciting. Two storefronts, just to kind of like have those businesses running for themselves eventually. Because when I have children and I'm ready to start a family, I don't want to work. I don't want to kind of trade my time anymore for money. I want to be very present in my kids' lives, and I want to give my children a certain type of life. that I didn't have. Again, I had a great childhood, but I want to give them things that I didn't have, you know? And I want to open my own nonprofit that really tailors to children in the system. I haven't thought about like the specifics yet, but maybe purchasing like housing for them and providing housing for them, because all foster cares and all of that, like they're just not good, and I do feel like the system is a little bit tainted, to be completely honest. So something in that area, I do really want to just help children in the foster care system in whatever type of way I can.
Sometimes when you don't have anyone raising you, or periods of your life without someone raising you, you kind of like take examples from friends' parents or friends or TV shows or famous people or fictional characters. Like it's very like people don't understand the strength that it takes to raise yourself, because you're starting from scratch essentially. And you're kind of like and like lots of people who have been through similar like life paths that you have can do the opposite. They feel their feelings and it's too much, and they might turn to addiction like your mother. But you've chose to better yourself and break cycles and create a path for the future to give back. So I just think that that's really something that you should be proud of. Again, I know I keep saying that, but I just think that you've kind of become who younger Rose needed in a way. Like, you know, that saying on social media that pops up everywhere. And in saying that, if you met 9-year-old Rose who had just lost her mum all those years ago, what type of advice do you think that you would give to her, knowing everything that you've been through now and that you've made it out the other side?
I would tell her that it's going to be okay, and that you will be successful, and you will be a great person with a great heart, and you're going to go on to do the most amazing things. And the version that you see in yourself, because again, I vividly remember being young and picturing this life for myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Almost manifesting it even at a young age.
I say it all the time, like I truly, yes, I've been working so incredibly hard, but I pictured this life for myself, you know? And I did it. So I would just tell her, like, just relax. Everything's going to be fine. And you're going to do it, and you're going to achieve everything that you want to achieve. Just, I got you, you know? Like, I kind of just want to hug her and just be like, I got you. Like, you will be taken care of, and you will be fine, you know?
Yeah. And what do you think your Tia would be the most proud of?
Oh my God. I don't know, because she wanted me to go to college. So I'm sure when I was not going to college and I was enrolling in beauty school, I'm sure she was up there and she was like, Rose, what the hell are you doing? You know, because that was what she wanted. She wanted college and a 9-to-5 job, because that's, you know, she was an immigrant herself. Now, I think that she would be so proud of me for everything that I've accomplished, for the life that I built for myself. And I'm doing this not only for myself, but for her as well, because she sacrificed so much. When she adopted me, her children were grown. She started with the diapers and the bottles and the feedings. Like, she started all over again, you know? So she sacrificed so much. So I think a lot of what I'm doing is just to show her, like, everything that you sacrificed wasn't for nothing. You know? Like, it was worth it. So I know she's proud. I know she's so proud of me. I know she's proud. She's proud.
And I'm sure you gave her, you know, back so much as well. You know, that yes, it was a sacrifice, but the joy and the accomplishments, even as a young child, I'm sure she was proud of you then. And absolutely is proud of you now. Rose, I want to end this podcast with a question that we ask all of our survivors. Take your time with this. You can think. Why do you think that you're a survivor today?
I think that I've come out on the other end of all this trauma because I saw firsthand the life that I could have easily have had and would have turned into had I let all of my struggles kind of take over me. And seeing that firsthand, I wanted nothing to do with that, you know? So a lot of my family members kind of followed in that, and they kind of take that and they're like, you know what, well, I've been through X, Y, and Z, so it's okay that I do X, Y, and Z. But I've seen what that does and the life that you can kind of accumulate and kind of build with that, and I wanted nothing to do with that. And I just, there's no other option for me. There's no other option. This is it. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have a beautiful life with a beautiful family and a life full of happiness and no stress. Like, yeah, we're always going to have stress, but like, I want a light life. I feel like my life, all my life has been so heavy and so brutal and so intense that there's no other option for me. It's only up from here, you know? Like, I want nothing but success and abundance and happiness and peace. And that's my life now, you know? And I'm going to continue that. And again, I'm seeing the life that I'm building for myself, and no one can take that away. I built this myself, and I've seen what I'm capable of, and I've seen what I'm strong enough and I have the strength to do. There's no other option. There's no other option, you know?
Yeah.